Hi, welcome to today's video. My name is Paul. So this week I've been doing a bit of watercolor landscape painting, these sort of abstract watercolor landscapes that you can see a couple of them on screen. Now, up until now, pretty much all of the landscapes have been in this sort of color palette, very simple blue and yellow basically. I use a few different blues, cobalt blue, cerulean blue, French ultramarine blue, Prussian blue, and the yellow. So these are all by Sennelier paint, Sennelier watercolor paints. The yellow is called Cadmium Yellow Light. This color scheme, I like it because it's simple and I think the colors work okay together. And they work for sort of the warmer seasons, the warmer months of the year, spring and summer, but not so much for the rest of the year. So I've been trying this for a while actually, on and off, to find a color scheme that I like for the rest of the year, sort of winter and autumn. I'm making this video on beginning of September, so to me it is already autumn. I know different people have different systems and different people disagree about exactly when the different seasons start. To me, August is the start of autumn. I know that's strange to some people. That's the old sort of calendar. In the Irish language, for example, the word for September is manfover, which translates literally into English as middle of autumn. So again, that sort of reflects the old calendar where September was the middle of autumn, August was the start, and October was the end. So anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Let's say I'm trying to find a color scheme that I think will work for this sort of time of the year through into winter. So as I've been experimenting, and you can see a couple of examples of these experiments on screen at the moment. Below the paintings there are two rows of colored squares. The top row, these are the colors, or at least some of the colors in the two paintings that you can see on screen at the moment. And then the bottom row are some of the colors that you could see from the previous two paintings. It's not all the colors because there's lots of different shades of grey. So I've only included some of the brighter colors, if you like. And I think the difference, if you look at those two rows of little colored squares, there are some similarities. I'm trying to keep the color palettes somewhat similar, but there are also differences. So the top two paintings that you can see, they're not using any greens. I'm using yellows and blues, but I'm sort of keeping them separate so they're not mixing to form greens. Whereas with the sort of spring and summertime paintings, I was happy enough for greens to show through. I don't do any mixing on the palette. All the mixing happens on the paper usually. But if you're using blue and yellow and it's wet in wet, you're going to get some mixing and you're going to get some greens forming. So that's sort of the main idea, getting away from just the yellow and blue and the green, introducing a few more slightly earthy colors. So burnt sienna, which is the color, the top row of little squares, the last one on the right, it's burnt sienna. It's not a color that I use very often, but I quite like it in these sort of autumny type paintings. In terms of composition and style, it's staying the same, very simplistic. I'm not afraid to let the white paper show through, and I'm focusing mainly on that horizon line. Last week's YouTube video, I sort of went through a little bit about how I get inspired to make landscape painting. So if you're interested, I would recommend going and watching that one if you haven't seen it already. So these are 4 of probably about 10 or 12 paintings I've done over the last week or so. Just, as I say, trying out these different color schemes. Some of them are quite different. Some of them are quite close to what I was using. They're all Sennelier colors. Well, mostly 80%, 90% Sennelier colors. There's a couple of Windsor and Newton colors in there. I use Windsor and Newton Sepia, Windsor and Newton Neutral Tint. The horizon lines in most of these are neutral tint. So it's just a dark grey, almost black. When you dilute it, it does form, as they say, a neutral grey. So it's not a bluish grey or a purplish grey, it's just a neutral grey. The other colours then are, as I say, burnt sienna. Again, still using the cadmium yellow, but Sennelier do too. They do a cadmium yellow light and a cadmium yellow deep. So I'm using both of those. The deep one is more orange than yellow. And the blues, still using the same blues. So short video this week. It's just sort of catching up. Anybody that's interested in what I'm trying to do, and some of the color schemes I'm trying to use. I'll try and remember to put the names of the colors in the description box below for anybody that's interested. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching and listening, and hopefully see you again in next week's video.